How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today I want to talk to you about how smart money is deploying right now. A lot of big entities are buying, and I'm going to show you what they're buying. And I think if you stay through to the end, you'll get a good picture for what's actually happening behind the scenes and why we've seen a lot of downward pressure. But like I said, smart money, big money, people that have had money on the sidelines and haven't put all their money into the market, they are accumulating pretty quickly right now. If you don't mind hitting the like button and subscribe button, I appreciate that. There's that bell notification so you know right when I post a video. Also, if you want to share this to someone that you know that likes crypto, I would highly suggest it. I would appreciate that. And there is a link down there to Margex, and we'll talk more about that in a bit, but they do have a great sign-up bonus when you use the platform, so we'll talk more about that later, but I would highly suggest trying it out. Now, the crypto market is looking better here today. We're sitting right above 21,000, which is nice. We have the crypto fear and greed index moving up a bit. We're still in extreme fear. We have been for months, but we're closer to getting out of that extreme fear and just back into fear, which would be honestly a step up from here. And you can see that we did have a great day in the stock market as well last week, with the NASDAQ ending 3.3% up on Friday. And then overall, throughout the week, we had a 7.3% up week. And I even heard some banks are saying we might have another week like this after we've had such a massive sell-off over the last couple months. This has been one of the worst starts to the year for crypto, for stocks. This has been really rough, but we do have it sort of turning around now. And I don't want to just say throw all your money into the market, but like I said, we will show how some people are positioning themselves and they are getting a little bit more bullish here. The last 24 hours, about $130 million worth liquidated. Obviously, this has been a big cause of a lot of the downward pressure that we've had in the past, but right now it has cooled down with some liquidations coming in, more longs being liquidated recently than shorts over the last 24 hours. But when we look back over the last couple weeks, obviously so many longs have been liquidated, a lot of shorts at the same time, and we'll talk about leverage a little bit later with Margex. But obviously there's just been a lot of pain and a lot of assets that have been liquidated that don't even show up here because it's institutional players, and it's Luna selling billions of dollars of crypto, and you can just see how negative that has been on the price action. Now it looks like we might have the first green week that we've had in several weeks here, and when we look back, we only had one small green week a few weeks ago, and since before that we had 10 red candles in a row, or 9 red candles in a row, setting a record. So we might see a green candle. We'll see more of that tomorrow because the market closes, or the weekly candle closes, I should say. And we are getting closer to that 200-week moving average. Again, in the past, we've only seen a maximum of about 1 to 2 weeks where we've been underneath this. Historically, it's been a great time to be accumulating when we've been below this level, and we only see this really once a cycle. We don't see it touch down and then go back above and then touch down again and go underneath. Typically, this has been support after we get through this kind of rough, turbulent time. Now, with all this being said, if I'm saying that a lot of big entities are positioning themselves and putting money into the market, which I'll show you in a minute, why are we actually falling down? Well, obviously the large factor in this were those liquidations that we talked about, right? With Luna, with miners too. A lot of miners have sold off recently, and they're having to shut down a lot of their rigs right now. You can see the hash rate has actually come down a significant amount from just a few weeks ago, 230 versus about 205, so it has gone down about 12% or so. A lot of this is because the price of Bitcoin is just falling down to 20,000, so a lot of miners are not even profitable at this point. I have a miner myself, and we just have it in the basement of a property. So the fact is, it still is profitable because we don't have to pay for employees, we don't have to pay for somewhere to put it, we really just have to pay for electricity. But when you start adding those other costs on, a lot of miners aren't actually profitable. And a lot of them are having to sell the Bitcoin that they do mine, if they're still able to mine, just to pay back for electricity and expenses. So we had 18,000 Bitcoin sold on the market. We also had an ETF recently that dropped about 25,000 Bitcoin in just a weekend as well. So you can see that there are entities that are selling because they're forced to sell because of liquidations, leverage, and then also just because they have expenses. But this is where we start getting into some of the entities that are buying here. So first of all, we have Giga-whales. They're hitting new records. So this is the largest wallets out there. These are the entities that have over 100,000 Bitcoin. They hit a new high. Over 776,000 Bitcoin is held by a grand total of 5 addresses with 100K Bitcoin, growing over 16% in the last 30 days. So the largest whales out there are buying. Also, a lot of big money is positioning themselves, and a lot of big entities are now positioning themselves to buy out companies in crypto, like Goldman Sachs. Supposedly, they are the leading investor group to buy Celsius. The Wall Street firm is seeking $2 billion in commitments from investors to buy distressed assets at steep discounts if the crypto lender goes bankrupt. We heard last week, too, that they are hiring a restructuring advisory firm. And this was just as of yesterday, I believe this was reported. Now what they would be buying would be the cryptocurrencies that they hold. Celsius holds, it sounds like, and they would be buying them for a discount. Now, I'm still not sure because I've never gone through this. I'm not an attorney like that works on these kinds of things, but I'm curious what they actually would get out of this. I'm assuming that Celsius has cash and crypto, and that's what they would actually get, and they'd pay just a decreased amount for it, and they would buy it kind of over the counter, so that way they wouldn't have to dump it on the open market and then push the prices down as they try to sell it off, because a couple $1 billion in selling pressure would cause the assets to go down in value, while some companies might just say, hey, we want this Bitcoin anyways, or we want these cryptocurrencies anyways, we'll pay you a 10% discount, or we'll get a 10% discount, and then we'll take on your assets instead of Bitcoin all of a sudden falling down to 16, 17,000, them having to sell for a 20% discount. That's just kind of my thinking on it, but I could be wrong. Now, we also have FTX that might be purchasing a stake in BlockFi, and I've said this for now, I think a week, basically since they signed the term sheet to get that $250 million revolving credit facility. I've been saying that I wouldn't be surprised if FTX bought part of BlockFi or part of Voyager. I think it would make a lot of sense because right now these different clients are so valuable in crypto. Like, a lot of people will pay large rewards to these clients anyways just to get them on their platform. And you could just buy a company that already has a lot of clients. It would probably make sense, especially if they're willing to give a couple $100 million to in a credit facility. It might make sense just to buy out part of the company itself, or to buy out the company completely, especially with how much valuations have gone down. FTX does have a lot of cash, and they might be able to capitalize on this. I mean, when you look at Voyager, right, they have 1 million funded accounts, or they did at least, and they're selling for under $100 million. That's actually really cheap in the finance world to get $100 per funded account. That's really cheap. Usually it's $500 or $1,000 a lot of the time. So it will be interesting. They are not reporting on this. BlockFi is not commenting on market rumors, and they're still in negotiation with the terms of the deal. I would not be surprised though if this happened. Now, speaking of companies that are giving you a lot just to sign up with their platform and to try it out, I want to talk about Margex. After Margex, I want to talk to you about why these companies and all these individuals are positioning themselves so much when there is so much bad news, because I think there are some things you have to remember. Now, before we go any further, I want to talk to you about a massive sign-up bonus that's available on Margex. Now, Margex is a partner of the channel. There you can long and short cryptocurrencies from Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Litecoin, EOS, ADA, Solana, and more. They make it super easy. And you can see you can go on leverage up to 100x. I'm always very cautious and don't use leverage myself, but I realize some people are traders, which this bonus is going to really help those traders. But I realize that some people like to trade and want to long and short the market. That's a little bit risky and a little bit advanced for even what I do, but you can use Margex to do that. It's one of the easiest to use platforms out there for longing and shorting on leverage. Now, something that a lot of people worry about with going long or short on leverage is the fact that a lot of the time you can have massive wicks that do liquidate a variety of positions or a good amount of positions. Now, something that they have on Margex specifically is something called an MP shield. This protects users from price manipulation and prevents liquidations. Now, I'm going to leave my link underneath the video, and when you use promo code FRIEND15, I'll leave that underneath the video as well, you get a 15% bonus on your deposit amount. So if you deposit $10,000, you get $1,500. Now, you can only use these for trading fees, but this also goes a long way. So check out the links underneath the video. Remember, promo code FRIEND15, and thanks Margex for sponsoring this video. Now let's look at why all these entities are taking such big positions. Obviously, some people have kept money on the sidelines, right? I've kept money on the sidelines so I can continue to DCA through this time. Some people are making big bets short term, right? They're putting in large chunks of money because they think that either just based on the price action, historically, this is a great time to buy. We typically are under the 200-week only for a couple weeks, and then we're right back out of it. That's something to consider. And while a lot of people are worried because there has been so many negative things that have happened recently between inflation, war, Luna, Celsius, Three Arrows Capital regulation, all the stuff that's happening in the stock market and in the housing market and layoffs and recession fears, all that stuff is happening. You have to remember that there have been a lot of good things that have happened as well. So when the price action is negative, typically we only highlight the negative things that are happening in the market, but don't forget all the positive things that happened at the beginning of the year. For example, we had the truckers in Canada start using crypto and showing that certain countries, even really developed countries and countries that you would think wouldn't touch your bank accounts, at least without going through the proper checks and balances and all that kind of thing, they will do that. They will take your money from you. It's not really your money if it's in a bank. Also, we had a country that was going through war that started accepting cryptocurrencies. We had people that were leaving the country that had nothing to their name except for what was on their phone as well. So that's another great point for cryptocurrencies. Then we had another country make crypto legal tender. We have the possibility of a spot ETF for Bitcoin, especially that's more and more likely all the time with all these other investment products like short ETFs, long ETFs coming out. I think there's more and more of a chance that's going to happen as time goes on, and we have regulation that's going to come in the next year or so coming from senators and Congress people. And this is definitely more and more likely as regulation comes in. We also have Fidelity that's going to offer in retirement accounts, hopefully here soon, and offer you to invest up to 20% of your 401ks. We also had a top 4 accounting firm that started to buy crypto and NFTs. So a lot of big entities are just seeing that we're so far down in price. If you have any kind of a long outlook, it's probably a good time to be buying. And when we have big weeks like this in the stock market and then crypto doesn't really move too much, I think a lot of people will get more bullish because it is really tied together. If one moves and the other one doesn't move right away, it's most likely that it will move in tandem again because they are typically very correlated. So if the NASDAQ starts racing, obviously crypto will probably move up as well. So a lot of entities are trying to position themselves, especially now that there are some really depressed prices on either crypto companies or crypto assets in general if they have a long-term outlook. Now, we also have the fact that a lot of other assets that people consider hard assets maybe not are as hard as people think, especially with Bitcoin, because there is a fixed supply. That is a very strong selling point. But we just had the news break a couple weeks ago that Uganda found enough gold to more than double the supply of gold on Earth. So it's just crazy when people think that gold is finite. The fact is, it's really not. Whether it's different asteroids or comets that can be mined in the future, or if it's just large deposits that are found, right? This could add so much supply that it could really hurt the price of gold over time. While crypto is significantly harder to mine and to get a hold of as time goes on, and there are a lot of entities that really don't want to sell it ever, like MicroStrategy. They say that they're never going to sell and they just want to hold on to it. A lot of people feel the same way. I know some people that don't hold any cash. They try to be less than like 0.1% in actual US dollars. The rest is in Bitcoin. When they get a check, they try to make it converted into Bitcoin right away. So that way they don't have that much of a US dollar footprint. So the fact is, a lot of people do it just because they believe in having a decentralized form of money. There are a lot of good things that are going to happen in the future. I didn't even talk about Strike and how they're making it cheaper and faster for businesses to transact with Bitcoin than any other kind of payment processing. This is going to be a crazy next couple of years, and I think a lot of people are buying. Now, I am buying as well. I'm dollar cost averaging regularly. I still think it's worth dollar cost averaging, personally at least, because I'm not that great at market timing. A lot of people aren't, right? Even though I look at the markets every single day, I'm not a TA analyst. I'm not trying to get in at a certain time. I realize that if I dollar cost average here at 40,000, 45,000, and then down here at 20,000, then back at 30,000, I realize that in a few years, I'm gonna make a lot of money. And I don't want to get discouraged. I don't wanna buy and then try to sell and then time it wrong and then have it race up to $40,000 and think I'll just buy when it falls down a bit to $30,000 and then it never comes down. I think Bitcoin is going to be worth a lot more in the future, so I'm just going to keep on buying because I realize that it's probably better just to stay in the game than it is to try to time it out and try to get fancy with it, at least for me as an investor, right? If I really do think Bitcoin's going to $100,000 in the next few years, why try to time it? That's a 5x from right here. That's a fantastic return. That typically takes 20 to 25 years in a normal index fund. And I'm thinking I'm going to get that in the next few years. Now, let me know your thoughts on that underneath the video. Let me know if you're trying to time the market. Thank you so much for watching. Check out Margex underneath the video. And let me know what you think about all these big entities getting into the game and buying significant positions right now. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one.